Hello, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with the Dean. My guest today is Mark Cleveland, CEO of Swiftwick International. Welcome to the Lipscomb campus, Mark.
It's good to be here.
Oh, man, we are really delighted to have you on the campus. It's truly an honor. Swiftwick is the U.S. leader in the manufacture of medical-grade compression performance wear for sports teams and individuals. Now, I want to come back to that and get you to explain what that is. But before you do that, let me also say that you're a serial entrepreneur. You're either currently or you have been the CEO of Hobby Lobby, Seabridge, Truckload Management Incorporated, Ellsworth Handcrafted Bicycles, the Jubitz Corporation, and Horizon Satellite Systems. Did I leave any out?
Oh, you probably promoted me too much already, but no.
Well, that's quite a life, so congratulations on that. But let's start with Swiftwick because I know that's what you're working on now to build. Tell me about Swiftwick.
Well, Swiftwick is a U.S. domestic manufacturer of compression socks. So we're here to put, we originally organized ourselves to focus on manufacturing in the United States. I kind of have it's a mission-driven business in that sense, and we're real proud of what we've accomplished so far in 5 years of operations. It's about making the world's best sock, so that's what we stay focused on.
And Mark, when I think of socks, I think of the kind I buy for a few dollars for a dozen at one of the sports stores, but you're talking about a much more sophisticated product, I presume. So how big is that market, and why do people buy compression socks as opposed to what I would think of as a cotton sock, for example?
Well, compression socks are performance athletic equipment. So it helps with performance improvements in sports and in general life. You might be, excuse me, you might be more familiar with compression socks when you've had a surgery or you're a diabetic, you're under a doctor's care. There are terrific products out there, and the foundation of the compression technology is that it improves venous return, basically lowers blood pressure, helps you with your circulation, and that's real important to an endurance athlete. You know, if I can make you 5% faster, you're going to be excited about that. Mm-hmm. So, it's really an aid to muscle support and performance. Now, with a cotton sock, we say cotton is rotten in our industry. Cotton socks can be produced faster. The consumer sock that's 3 for a dozen at the supermarket, that's not what we do. But that customer immediately recognizes if they do get a hold of a Swiftwick, they can see, wow, that's something different, because it's substantially a different feeling. And what we've done is taken the medical controlled manufacturing processes that lead to a medical sock that might be $60, $80, $100 when you get it issued through that system, and made it for fit people. Mm-hmm. And in that process, we feel like we're the market leader. We try to make a sock that improves your performance and feels great. It's made in the United States, and all those things taken together with quality materials and a lot of supply chain control to make sure that we're delivering the best technology. That's what goes into a great sock. We're not the most expensive sock, and we're certainly not an inexpensive sock, but we're less expensive than some of our competitive products, which are manufactured in Vietnam or in South Africa or in China, and yet are priced as higher as our products. So we scratch our heads a little bit at that from time to time, but we think that there's a consumer awareness about the importance of jobs, creating manufacturing opportunities in the United States, and developing a following around a brand that stands for some things. So we think we're in the middle of a trend that's emerging in that area.
Now, you refer to these as medical grade, but you talk about targeting the socks to performance athletes. Do you also manufacture for the medical industry?
We don't. We are outside the control systems, the batch processes, the tracking systems that the medical industry requires for a medical compression sock. So it's a medical grade insofar as the equipment and the machines are essentially the same, but we're not focused on that element of compliance.
Did you create this market? Was there already a market there for compression socks for athletes, or did you create a new market?
You know, I think Swiftwick probably was one of the beginner pioneers of that market. I sure hate to take credit for creating a market. I think that what we've done is we've really connected the cycling community, the triathlete community, the running community, and now a huge percentage of the PGA Tour golf professionals are wearing Swiftwick socks. I think we were just the very first people to really take an athletic culture and an athletic performance product and connect it to those channels, and a lot of people are benefiting from it. I think we're extending the market presence of compression for sure.
How do you sell the socks?
We focus on a dealer network. We went at the beginning and decided that we wanted to be available only in the kind of stores where the people who answered the question, you know, where's your socks, where's your shoes? It's not aisle 4. It is the specialty retailer, the specialty athletic store that has employees that are highly trained and really understand the products and services that are in that store and why they're there and how they help the athlete. So we chose to do business with Small Business America. So our dealer network today is about 1,500 locations strong. We're adding 50 locations a month with a terrific group of Swiftwick. We call it the Wick Nation. Swiftwick customers and Swiftwick employees that are out there growing that network. So we're up to 1,500 locations, and we're pretty excited about that.
Any possibility of Smithwick stores, branded stores?
Yeah, well, Swiftwick is probably not going to go that far. We have a website, swiftwick.com, that does considerable business, largely because maybe there's no retailer in that market and the athlete understands who we are and they'll come do business with us online. We've got some hockey specialty retailers and some golf specialty retailers online, backcountry.com and amazon.com, and a lot of our retailers that have a web presence. So there's a lot of Swiftwick socks sold on the web. It's an interesting business, doing business with people who own their business, and you're talking to them eye to eye and helping them grow. It feels real good. I don't see us opening Swiftwick stores though.
What got you interested in this? How did you determine there was a market or a need for this?
You know, I was a customer. Swiftwick was a tiny little company that had just started, maybe not even 6 months old, and I bought several hundred pairs of socks from Swiftwick and had them branded with a logo for a 12-hour mountain bike endurance race that I was a partner in. And Dirt, Sweat, and Gears is the name of the race, and we gave away Dirt, Sweat, and Gears branded socks that were made by Swiftwick. And at the end of the 12-hour mountain bike endurance race, there was a whole lot of really happy, incredibly talented and gifted athletes who were standing around a bonfire. And I'll think back to it. It's just such a fun memory. 100, maybe 150 of those people came up and said, "Hey, Mark, where'd you get these socks?" And it just evolved from there. I was listening to the customer, and I'd never in my entire life seen a product where once you put it on, and these are spectacular athletes, they instantly recognized a difference in their performance throughout that day at that race right then, and told me about it and went out of their way to say something about it. So I wasn't involved in the company at the time, and a few months later put together some partners, and we acquired the brand and started growing from there. It was probably a teacup company that's now maybe a full plate.
You recently received the Iris Award for Visionary Contributions to Japan-Tennessee relations from the Japanese American Society. Now, if our viewers were listening carefully to your comments earlier, you mentioned U.S. manufacturing, I think, twice in your comments. So I'm just fascinated by why the Japanese American Society would give you such a high award when you're so committed to U.S. manufacturing. How do you reconcile those two things?
Well, it was a meeting in our company. The entire staff assembled, a regularly scheduled weekly meeting when this terrible news of the tsunami was announced, and we were all really moved by that. And our company motto and how we put ourselves together in terms of culture was do what moves you. So at that point in time, we had just invested, I don't know, felt like a year, developing our newest product line, which is called the Vibe. So the Vibe sock line was ready to go, ready for market release. You know, we were real excited about it. And that morning we became aware of people's lives and possessions and anything that might have been precious to them having been washed away. So we got together and decided that we would donate those socks. You know, we're a small company then, we're a small company now. We didn't have a lot of resources, but we had a lot of socks, and they had been ready for market release. So we sent about $150,000 worth of socks to Japan. And I worked through Rotary. My Rotary Club here in Brentwood and Rotary clubs in the region came together to help fund the shipping costs. FedEx out of Memphis helped us. And then we had a Rotary Club at the other end distributing it. And it was a fascinating experience, just getting anything, any kind of relief, any kind of resource into that region was a big challenge, and we pulled it off. There's a lot of people in Japan right now wearing Swiftwick socks, and we don't sell in Japan, we don't market in Japan, we don't have Japanese packaging. Matter of fact, it wasn't even packaged, it was still pre-release product. So we shipped it all up, packed it all up and shipped it to Japan and started making socks again.
But no plans to sell in Japan?
No.
At least not at this point.
Well, God moves in mysterious ways. That was a little while ago. We haven't, it wasn't motivated by selling and distributing in Japan. It was what moved us.
Yeah. So let me come back to U.S. manufacturing, because I think that's a fascinating topic. To ask the question slightly differently, you do manufacture everything in this country, and that is a bit of a contrarian viewpoint, especially in the textile industry, because we've just basically lost our textile manufacturing capacity in this country. Why have you chosen to go that route?
Well, I think it's a choice that a business leader makes every day when you get up and go to work, what you're going to do to improve and impact your community. I believe that manufacturing in the United States is a decision. It's not easy, because when you lose an industry, you don't just lose the sock textile industry, you lose everything that goes into the support and supply chain. The spinners, the dye makers, the people who extrude and produce the product are all leaving to chase the industry. So, you know, what it's done for us is it's forced us to focus on high quality, high end, high technology solutions. We don't make inexpensive socks because we really just couldn't and don't want to compete in that area. And it's really not about expense. It's about trying to seek out the greatest sock. What makes the greatest possible sock you can possibly buy? And we're doing a great job of it here. From a pure business perspective, my machines, and we have 2 plants here in Tennessee, they operate 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. And another one of our facilities is doing, 2 shifts, 5 days a week at this point in time. And the scale and the technology that you can put in place, really the labor arbitrage is one of the reasons why so many people move industries. They think that they're going to get lower cost labor. And manufacturing socks is about time and machinery, and the machinery that we use requires a technician with an education and some skills and some talents, and there are some entry-level jobs and some people who tend the machines and make sure that the quality control steps are followed, and packaging, and so we're able to employ some people with disabilities in the process. We're able to employ people with high skills and high technical capabilities in the process, and there really just isn't a great reason to make great socks somewhere else. Wow, I mean, transportation. I think that if you want to have a low carbon footprint, your business has to eliminate unnecessary transportation costs. I think the supply chain of almost on-demand production to almost on-demand delivery, selling through to the retail channel. There's times when we don't produce the right size mix. Our voodoo on what it is that we're trying to make this week, and extra large, we don't make enough of them, and a whole bunch of extra large feet come in and we're out. It's not about instant, just-in-time delivery for us, but we happen to be in the United States. Our customers are in the United States. I think it's a choice. I think when you have an industry and you move it offshore, you can't blame it on your shareholders.
So are you a contrarian on the viewpoint that manufacturing is dead or dying in the United States? Do you see it coming back as people are beginning to say it may be in the early stages of doing?
Yeah, I think I'm a contrarian. I mean, I was involved in Ellsworth Handcrafted Bicycles. One of my best friends started that business way back when. And for the purpose, my objective was to learn how to set up a U.S. domestic manufacturing plant. And we handcrafted high-tech bicycles in that business. Last week I was in Portland, Oregon, touring the Gerber knife factory. I've had an opportunity to tour and to participate in the technology development process here in the United States with some of our textile suppliers, just really leading high quality thinkers. And then I've also been in China quite a number of times, looking at the factories over there. And I really don't believe that there's any reason why we can't manufacture in the United States. And it concerns me greatly. In Cookeville, Tennessee, there's a company that we manufacture, we buy from them a certain color of yarn and a certain type of yarn, and it's a 200,000 square foot facility with 12 employees in it today. And at one point in time, it was a massive employer for that community. And that's a true story almost everywhere you go. So what do we have here in the United States? We have consistent power. We have security. We have a labor force that particularly in Tennessee, which is a right-to-work state and has a lot of educated people, or if they're not college educated, they're at least streetwise and smart. You have really good people in this state, and I think that's true in every state. And I think that manufacturing anything in your home is a higher priority than trying to source something somewhere else. And we lose a lot of creativity and a lot of control and a lot of opportunity in the process of trying to source something somewhere else.
Well, you mentioned technology, I think, in your earlier comments. I read an article just in the last few days about General Electric pairing their innovation teams with their manufacturing teams in close proximity to each other so that there could be constant interchange, and those innovations that the R&D people came up with could be implemented almost immediately in the plant, and you just kept that cycle moving forward to create an edge competitively. Do you see high technology related products as one solution to our manufacturing challenges in this country?
Well, I think that's where we choose to compete, because it's a reality that we have a lot of universities that are creating thought leaders and creating research and development. Matter of fact, Swiftwick licensed some very special technology from the University of Oregon. It's a technology transfer program that they have out there. And we benefited from the fact that we could move fast and that we were patient enough to be there and knocking on the door all the time. There's an antimicrobial process that we use in the production of some of our product. And close proximity, I don't know, Oregon's not close to Tennessee, but those are relationships that you develop. I think that when you put research and development, when you put customers, when you put your supply chain all in the same room and talk about how to be more efficient and how to make a better product, then you'll accomplish that. I guess maybe the secret to what you just said, though, is they put people in the same room, and people are the organizing engine, and
That's true.
They are the business. Yeah. So some classic management structures are all about, I think you keep a company small if you can, because it's easy to make sure that everybody gets to contribute. You get some pretty good debates from time to time, and wouldn't it be great? Wouldn't it be fantastic if anybody who wanted to start a company was able to? And I think that's true in the United States. And I think there's a lot of creativity and a lot of entrepreneurship that just needs some of those support dynamics and some encouragement, and people like you to help them take that step.
Well, we've started a Center for Entrepreneurship here, and Joe Ivy is heading up that effort, and we now have undergraduate and graduate programs in entrepreneurship, or expect to have graduate programs shortly. We're totally supportive of that, and it's amazing how this generation is so interested in entrepreneurship. I think one reason for that is because they've watched the pain and anguish their parents have gone through when they've been laid off and downsized, and a lot of the kids that we see coming through today have the attitude, that's not going to happen to me. I'm going to start a business. And so that has created a lot of interest in entrepreneurship, and I think that's a good thing. I think that's a good thing for the United States.
Well, I would really like to see that kind of creativity building something, right? Making things, competing on a worldwide stage. It's interesting, in my experience, there is a tremendous interest in China for American-made products and American brand. There's the same thing is true in Japan. Around the world, things that are, say, made in the USA have a certain panache, and gosh, it's just sitting there ready for us to take. Not everybody's going to start a brewery. Not everybody's going to start a local, small, sort of site-oriented business, and not everybody's going to be the next, web billionaire. But there's a lot of things that we can make, and I guess tying back to your question about manufacturing in the USA, it's just a choice. There are a lot of machines that used to be here that are now in China, literally factories, and entire factories, all the machinery packed up and just moved. That was a choice, and we could have just as easily been making stuff here. So, when you're leading the next entrepreneurial generation, I hope you'll encourage them to make stuff.
Well, we will. We'll do that very thing. Now, I have to ask you the question that I'm sure is on the tongues of most of our listeners. So as you talk about compression socks, and you talk about those compression socks not just on your feet but on your arms and
right.
legs, the image that I have are these professional basketball players. It seems like every other player today has either a compression sock on one arm or both arms. Tell me, why do they wear those compression socks on their arms?
Well, sleeves.
Is that what they're called, sleeves?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a couple of reasons. One of them is that compression does help you with venous return. So compression is great on your extremities. Your heart works to pump blood out, and then your veins through motion. And there's valves that are one direction valves that literally your motion in your body pushes the heart back to the blood back to your heart. So that's called venous return. And so it makes a lot of sense on your extremities to have compression. Knee-high compression socks or sleeves. Another reason is that generally when you have compression on, you're more aware. It's an interesting phenomenon. As you're moving through your athletic activities and you have compression wear on, you have a greater sense of where your body's at. It's almost an extrasensory perception in that sense.
Really?
Your skin and all those motor sensors are more active. It's also good for thermal management, temperature regulation, and gosh, if you're riding a mountain bike like I do, it's good for briars and all kind of things like that too.
Let's talk about some of these other businesses that you've been involved in, because wow, we could take another hour here. We don't have that much time, but let me just start with Hobby Lobby. That's an interesting business. You're involved in the one, I think, that's based here, but some of our viewers may be aware of the fact that there is another Hobby Lobby, I think, based in Oklahoma. How can there be two Hobby Lobbies?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, usually when someone says, when I get introduced as the CEO of Hobby Lobby, I'll have a lot of people tell me how much their wife likes my store. And I'm talking to somebody in upstate Michigan, I'm pretty sure they've never been to our store. This company, Hobby Lobby International, was started almost 50 years ago by a local entrepreneur here in Nashville.
Now, this would be yours.
This would be mine.
Okay, all right.
I bought it in early 2009, just as the teeth were sinking into the meat of the recession. And we're a hobby radio control cars, airplanes, trucks. We're a manufacturer of radio controlled airplanes, and we have some of the best brands in the industry. The Telemaster, a lot of people who've ever toyed and laid out a balsa kit airplane might have made a Telemaster. And the Telemaster brand is one of our foundational products. And we design, manufacture in both China and the United States radio control products and distribute them throughout the United States through either a business-to-consumer website, which is pretty strong for us, and that's hobby-lobby.com, or through other hobby shops that buy and resell our products as we're a distributor or a manufacturer. So we have a distribution business there, and it was started before the other company was started. So back in an era before people fully appreciated brands and the power of the brand. Now, this business never grew beyond one location here in Nashville, while the Green family took the Hobby Lobby that most people know to $2.6 billion in sales, and it's one of the largest most impressive privately held companies in America. So there's some brand confusion that we benefit from, and there are some challenges that fall from sharing that brand name. But we have sort of an agreement between the two of us about where we play and where they play, and we've chosen not to have a battle over it. And I'm frequently introduced as the Hobby Lobby CEO and get that kind of a response.
Do you have growth ambitions for that business?
I think I've got growth ambitions for everything. So the business
That's a good answer.
It's run by people, and a lot of what they want to do, we try to organize ourselves around their passions, things that make them tick. It's been a challenge. That's been a particularly significant challenge for me professionally, because acquiring a company and then trying to redirect it through the challenges that have faced this country in the last few years has been a big professional challenge. Mm-hmm. The culture was set, and it was very successful in its own right at that time in many ways, and we've had to reinvent ourselves. And I think the pace of reinvention has been a big challenge. Brought in some new management, some very capable people who knew that industry really well and were better at it than me and have done a great job running the company. But we've never lost sight that we were here to share the fun, which is our mission, and it gives me a chance to be 12 years old and call it a business.
We were talking about entrepreneurship a few minutes ago, and I don't know that this is a definition that would stand the test of being in a textbook, but I often refer to entrepreneurship as being similar to being a bumper car at the state fair. Entrepreneurs have to just bounce off of every obstacle that they encounter. And so your comment about reinventing the business is dead on right in terms of what you have to do. You just have to keep on figuring out another way to do it until you get it right. And so that's what you've done, you say, with Hobby Lobby.
Well, I think it's probably fair to say that entrepreneurs can be misidentified as people with short attention spans, or people who are unemployable in the large organization. I don't believe any of that. I think everybody's an entrepreneur at some point. You're responsible for your family business, your faith business, your all your relationships. So every individual is an entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. It's just how you view it. Mm-hmm. I'm particularly pleased to have had a lot of experiences in different structures. Mm-hmm. Publicly traded companies about to go and going public, companies that were owned by families, which is a completely different dynamic, and several different companies that I've started myself and either sold or I'm still operating. So to me, these and companies with partnerships, guys like you and me getting together and starting a company. How you come in, how you exit, all that stuff is it's how you behave while you're there, and the kind of impact you have on the people who are there when you're there. And I think major corporations with significant leadership, those guys and gals at the top are all entrepreneurs. They just happen to have larger organizations. And I think that they're reinventing their business constantly.
One of the things that I noticed in your bio, you often speak of having fun in business, F-U-N, all capital letters. And I'm not sure you mean ha-ha fun. I think you may mean something different. What do you mean by having fun in business?
Well, to me, it's the fierce urgency of now. And it's also fun. If you're having fun doing what you're doing, well, that's a bonus. And if it's the fun, ha-ha fun, and I think Hobby Lobby is a fun business, and I think Swiftwick manufacturing socks and the way that we serve our customers, they buy our product, they're involved in their pursuit for excellence, to be more fit or to lose weight, and they're involved in their passion. So I've gravitated towards businesses where people do have some fun. But I believe that now is important. I think there's too many things that people put off till tomorrow in almost any definition, and that excellence for excellence sake has a finish line. And then you set another goal and you have a finish line, and you set another goal and you have a finish line. So if it were a culture I was trying to build and influence, and I have the privilege of doing that, then I'm going to be looking for metrics and for people who like to be measured and like to measure their progress and want to get something done now, and they've got a sense of urgency. Because every day that goes by is a day you never get back again. And I believe that people make better decisions when they make decisions, as opposed to waiting until we have all the right perfect data and agonizing over it, and then maybe deciding to move forward or not, and looking in the rearview mirror all the time. And gosh, just do it now.
Doesn't have to be perfect.
Pick, make a decision, and then live in a world, which you have to admit, we live in a world where we need to make constant course corrections.
Sure.
So fun to me is the fierce urgency of now.
Now, so you talk about accountability in the sense of metrics and making decisions and being accountable for those decisions. Let's flip that around and let's talk about responsibility. You take responsibility seriously, don't you?
Yes, sir. My father was a lawyer. My mother is an educator, and she actually lives here in Tennessee and tries to help people with disabilities and employment challenges, find gainful employment and a sense of self-respect and success. And it might be a faith-based thing. It might be that I believe I'm here in order to try to positively influence anything. And I don't think that you can take responsibility lightly. It's I can just do the best job I can do. So when I say excellence for excellence sake, I'm not always perfect. I'm certainly learning all the time. And in that process, I accept responsibility, and I love people who accept responsibility for their own flaws and for their mistakes, and will come to me with a challenge. It may be theirs. They haven't been able to overcome it. Maybe they can help me understand how they view it, and then I might be able to help them through it. And so they're taking responsibility and seeking help. So I take responsibility for an organization, and I seek help from the entire organization. So if I look at single mothers today who are trying to raise a family and balance a checkbook and all those challenges, and they are as responsible as they are, and I'm impressed by that. For example, when I look at people who move through to other countries and give their time and energy and are on a mission, that's impressive to me. And if I'm on a mission, my mission is to build employment and create an environment where those people who are participating in that business can have some fun. They understand that there is a finish line and there are metrics, and I'm a part of holding them accountable, but that in the end they're really responsible. I think the word responsible is response-able, right? Everybody's got so much more skills and talent that they could deliver to whatever it is that they're facing, whatever that challenge is. And I see potential in everybody. And maybe that's what drives me crazy. Probably the thing that drives me the most crazy as a professional is seeing potential in other people and just wondering, why don't you tap that, you know? So we all have struggles, but I'm looking to be more response-able.
We're going to run out of time, but let me just close by asking you one last question. I'm fascinated by your philosophy of leadership, and it's implicit in all of your comments that you really think seriously about leadership. As I think about our country, I think one of the things that we need more of is thoughtful leadership. If you were elected president of the United States, what would you do? What would be the first thing you would do as a new leader?
Well, I'm not sure I would run.
Well, leave that aside, and let's assume you suddenly found yourself in that position.
If I was president tomorrow, what would I do? I think I would work to seriously simplify everything. I don't think people want as much government in their life as we get. And I do think there are a lot of people who need help. And we don't always deliver the help in the right way. And so, you know, as a business leader and an entrepreneur, I find some of the compliance requirements sort of well-intentioned, but not very well thought out. So I think the first thing I'd do is I'd look at everything and see how could we possibly simplify this. And I think that's a rich opportunity right there.
Hey, it's been great to have you on the Lipscomb campus today,
Thank you.
Mark Cleveland. Thank you so much for being here.
Terrific.
It's an honor to have you here. My guest today has been Mark Cleveland, who's the CEO of Swiftwick International. We're delighted to have had Mark on the campus, and I hope you'll join us again soon for Conversations with the Dean.